Just said to us there, you enjoyed it a little bit more than you did the weekend, but joking aside, a lot to like from your team, irrespective of the result, but to get the result as well, just give us your thoughts overall.
Yeah, I think naturally after the weekend and where we're at, taking the learning to try and build and improve tonight, and I thought, especially first half, very much closer to what I want the team to look like. If you look at our possession, for example, I thought the organisation, the desire to press, the set-up, the way we trapped them, I thought was really good. And then managed the regains and controlled the game with the ball. But what I like, we had a bit more purpose tonight. We had a bit more intent. We got into better areas and asked more questions, I thought. And obviously scored some really good goals. And then naturally, second half then becomes slightly different in terms of, they're going to take more risks, they're going to be a bit more aggressive, a bit more front-footed, and it's then how do you manage that situation. And what you don't want to do is turn the ball over too cheap or become passive, and I thought we stood up to it tonight. I thought we showed a real togetherness, a real spirit and a real desire to go and win.
I'm sure you'd rather amp up the collective, but I have to ask you about a young man there making his competitive debut tonight, Papa Amadou Diallo, 2 assists, but not just that, he's back tackling in his own box and numerous other darts, penetration. You can see some real exciting traits there. Just give us your thoughts on his initial debut.
I thought he had a real good impact. I thought he should be pleased with his performance tonight. I thought he naturally puts people on the back foot. The way he carries, the way he moves with the ball. I think he's got that language style about him where he's quite difficult to read. He produced some really high level moments, and I highlighted at half time. Not that I'm sure he understood me, to be honest, but delighted with the recovery and the tackle. And again, I think you see what it does. The lads celebrating it together and what it does for the fans. I think that we have to have everybody that's willing to do that. Everybody to run hard for the team, to compete, to make blocks, and I thought we did that tonight collectively, not just Papa, but the group as a collective.
But with him, obviously, we know how active you've been as a club over the summer, and you're trying to bring in young players in a lot of the recruitment, and with a high ceiling, and you see a glimpse. And I know we don't want to get too carried away, but you see a glimpse in that first 45 what you might have there to work with and to mould and to shape. Yeah,
definitely that, and it's understanding what his journey will look like. Like I said, we brought him here because of what he's good at. Our job's to make sure that we keep getting him in positions like we did today to do that, and that's where I thought. As good as Papa was, I think when you look at the back line and the 2 6s in Nacho and Mirko got real good control to be able to, and Grimmy included in that. So I think shows some real good quality to to build and actually feed him with real quality. And that's the important bit. I think it's as well as Papa did, and it's the collective that allows him to be able to do that. So he's got some really exciting talent, and again I think we also have to be aware of what his journey might look like. Is how do we turn that that potential into really high level consistent performances, and tonight was a big tick in that box. We have to just keep pushing him now.
And when you talk of consistent performances, the captain again tonight, I don't know if you're aware, probably that's his 50th goal for the club. I think he's only in 135 appearances. You probably get a bit tired of talking about him, but just sum up that as a body of work and just how important he is to this group.
Yeah, his record speaks for itself, right? I think he's the best championship striker for me. I think he's the best in the division. I think even in the 7-8 weeks, I think I've seen him really grow in the changing room in terms of he's the first one I speak to before a game. He's the first one that will speak out in the changing room at half time, and I'll question him. And his content, the way he talks, the way he's so consistent, I think, with his emotions, I think as well, which is really important, and it allows him to stay present and do what he does. And he was excellent again tonight. I thought he was first class in how he led the line, and long may it continue.
As much as you clearly would have been delighted, I'm sure, with the first half, the final third entries, the chance creation, you talked about that yesterday, you needed to amp that up, and you certainly did that. But would you take a lot of satisfaction from that second half? Because it was, I thought there was a parallel there with a bit like Millwall at half time Saturday. They came out, they were more aggressive, tried to get in and around your players, but you withstood it and you came through those difficult moments. And that is also, in terms of building blocks, something to look back on and be quite proud of tonight.
Yeah, definitely that, and I think we also have to be realistic. I think when we play like we did first half and get the control we did and go ahead 2-0, as much as I'd love the game to look like it did again second half, they'll come in. really high level coaches at this level. I think, in terms of the opposition coach, well then, like we saw at the weekend, like we saw tonight, it's naturally going to solve some problems for the opposition and set them up slightly differently and make them more aggressive and take more risk because they're chasing the game a little bit. So and that's why at half time we very briefly spoke about the first half, but most of the talk was around what do we need to do second half to be successful, because we know it will look completely different. And I thought we showed a real togetherness, which will grow and improve as we have tough experiences like we did at the weekend, as we did a positive one tonight. We'll take all the learnings from that as a group, and make sure that in future we're able to recall these experiences we've had to grow as a team and to keep moving forward.
Just as you made the change at half time, Mirko off and you brought Jacob on. Was that just sort of managing that lad's load? Basically?
Yeah, just purely physical. I think he's obviously had not been with us long and just gone straight away into a heavy one at the weekend, and then obviously I thought he was excellent first half tonight as well.
And also a nice little cameo in terms of his bigger story to get Jurasek on the pitch. That will give him a little boost, I'm sure, to be in and around it and have a feel of it.
Yeah, and did exactly what the team needed. The way he won a free kick and progressed us up the pitch and killed the game a little bit, did exactly what we needed, and we're going to need him. I think that's the key bit. It's the hardest bit, I think, in football is naturally and understandably all the lads have their own individual goals and motivations, but the biggest thing we all have to be willing to do is put the team first and put the team ahead of ourselves, and if the team's successful you'll get what you want individually off the back of it. So that's my challenge to the group, put the team ahead of yourself, because I know across a marathon of a championship season we're going to need everybody to step in and deliver. And I thought when you look at it tonight, the subs came on, had a real strong impact, which was massive for us.
Just more of a comment, just one or two of the lads who weren't involved. I know Quistgard, and just give us an update on that.
He reported this. He came in this morning and was down to travel, but didn't feel great this morning. So it was rather than sitting on a bus for 5 hours, let's just be sensible with it. So we left him back at the training ground.
And with Ante, was that again just in terms of you've got the squad, you're trying to use it as best you can? You got another game at the weekend.
Yeah, nothing major with Ante, just more fatigue from the weekend. So it was a decision to rest him, and that's what we've got a bit of depth, a bit of competition. That's what we're able to do. We were able to leave him back and kind of give him an extra day's recovery.
That's final one. Just obviously you said to us Forsome was having those scans yesterday. Is there any chance we can get an update on the outcome?
Yeah, unfortunately he's going to be out for a considerable amount of time. It's not good news. We're talking a few months with a hamstring injury. So we'll he'll have a follow-up appointment now. He's had a scan, and unfortunately we're not going to see him for a little while.
Is it too early to say? Is that surgical route?
That's too early to say. That's a follow-up appointment. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.